So I just read the skills economy report for 2026 and it confirms my biggest bets about where we're headed. So obviously everybody's talking about AI taking jobs, but the real crisis is that now we are automating away the exact roles where people learn to work, such as junior roles. But let me just show you what the data actually says. So, yes, AI and machine learning skills exploded 245% in demand, but demand for enthusiasm, imagine, enthusiasm went up 999%. Next one, working independently, 850, and emotional intelligence, also 85%. So, soft skills and emotional skills and being happy at your job, they are not nice to have anymore. They are the new baseline for being employable. So, if you're like me, an immigrant, someone who moved countries, someone rebuilding, you're probably realizing these are exactly the skills nobody taught you. So, for example, former Soviet republics, Eastern Europe, well, soft skills or emotional intelligence were kind of hippie. So if you're an engineer, why the hell would you be nice to work with? Well, obviously it's not applicable anymore, but nobody taught us that. So we need to figure this out on the fly. So back to the report. The report reveals a paradox. So around 76,000 jobs were eliminated by AI in 2025, but we are not losing jobs, we're transforming them. Every single role now requires a 50-50 split, as I said, technical skills and human skills. For example, customer service reps jobs have been cut dramatically. However, customer service reps who can do data analytics, that's cool. You cannot be a fantastic AI engineer who cannot work with people, who cannot do stakeholder management. So, if you're an AI engineer, you do need some basic emotional intelligence, not basic, but quite advanced, to actually land great jobs. So the separation between technical jobs and people jobs is going away. And the dangerous part is that we're automating 30% of entry level jobs. And those are the jobs where graduates learn, like the junior roles. How else are you supposed to learn stakeholder management and understand how a technical product, how a technical team, how a product team works? If there are absolutely no entry level jobs where you're supposed to learn this, problematic. And we are trading this way. We're trading short term efficiency for long term capability. And I think this is a very slippery slope. And now let's talk soft skills. The report tracked 50,000 skills across 200 countries. And let's break down the three soft skills that jumped out to me personally, not because they're trendy, but because they are now survival skills. So let's go back to this big surprise. What went up 999% enthusiasm. Ta-da. So, and this is not about being fake positive or bringing good energy to meetings. I think this is what employers actually mean by enthusiasm now is that you can show up consistently when things are uncertain. And this is what I struggled with in my previous job in Berlin at tech, in product. Things just started being weird. We've been waiting for a layoff. My team was being staffed weirdly, weird transitions and weird transfers. And at some point, I realized that I had this general malaise. Like I was really unhappy and I stopped showing up. I stopped showing up positively. I sometimes I would even turn off my camera. I'll be like, oh fuck, what's going on here? And Now I understand. Obviously, like later on, I got it back, but the damage has been done. So it's insanely important that you can live with uncertainty, ambiguity, so that you can stay engaged when the project pivots again for the third time, and you can keep learning when the role changes every 6 months. It's not easy. I failed at it. I learned from it. So this is about resilience, and it is being disguised as enthusiasm. So for me now, as a founder, honestly, somebody who just also quit drinking 4 years ago, this clicked hard. Enthusiasm isn't personality. It's like you gotta train it as a response to chaos. You have to understand, okay, this is what it is, and life has always been chaos. Now it just seems to be more chaotic because of AI and all the crisis that's going on. But you gotta rewire your brain to be resilient. And if you're also building something, or like even like entrepreneur or entrepreneur at your job, if you're freelancing, if you're between jobs, your ability to show up with consistent energy when you don't feel like it is this skill. So, and it's measurable now. It shows up in how fast you respond, how you handle ambiguity, and whether you ghost when things get hard. So, next one is working independently, up 850%. And this one hit for me as well, and hit differently. I had to unlearn it so much. So I grew up in Novosibirsk, Soviet influenced education. Autonomy was not really encouraged. You followed instructions, you didn't question authority, you definitely didn't figure it out yourself. You're told what to do when you're not in leadership positions. But now you move somewhere and companies want somebody who can identify a problem without being told, figure out what resources they need, and execute without checking in every step, and also know when to ask for help and make sure that they have this clarity before they move on to autonomously working on this topic. So this is especially hard if you're from a culture where asking questions was seen as weak, or where being told what to do was the norm by the leadership. So the report doesn't say this explicitly, but I'm seeing it everywhere. If you can't work independently, you're not hireable, period. And the next one, very important one, my favorite, emotional intelligence. This is where it gets really unfair for people who move to the West from other countries, like, say, post the former Soviet republics, Eastern Europe, India, Bangladesh, or other countries, the Balkans. So if you didn't grow up with this mindset, it's pretty tough. And I call it the emotional intelligence tax. So it's very hard for some people who moved and work right now. It's Berlin, and I also work with some American teams. You really see how we just don't have it. And people who grew up with this, they are way ahead of us. So, what is this? What are the skills? For example, reading the room in meetings, very important. So the next one is networking is a survival skill, not just nice to have. Yes, super important. You have to showcase your work. You have to meet people who are in the same boat. Insanely important. Talking about your achievements without being seen as arrogant. Yes, showing, it's not showing off, it's showcasing your work, showing your value is extremely important. Handling feedback without getting defensive. Yes, because it's just feedback. It's also called growth mindset. Can you turn constructive feedback into a growth engine, or you can't? It's insanely important. Performing calm under stress. This is where self regulation is extremely important. Can you prioritize? Can you step away from the task if you see you're not going anywhere? Can you ask for help? Can you Can you move forward when it's unclear and the pivots are endless? So these aren't universal, they're cultural specific, and if you didn't grow up with them, you might hit an invisible ceiling. And I've watched technically brilliant people get passed over for promotions because they didn't fit the culture. And so, as in, they didn't perform emotional stability the right way. So, people who got promoted, they were not the people who found the perfect technical solutions. They were the people who created collaborations between different departments. This is more important. And this is where we're talking leadership skills. So if you're an immigrant in tech, this is probably the hardest skill to learn because you're learning it while you're also just trying to survive and make it in the new culture and in the new country. And back to the report, it reveals something nobody is really addressing, calling capability crisis. So companies are automating entry-level jobs for short-term productivity. But again, as I said, this is highly problematic because as a college graduate, how the hell are you supposed to know how to perform in company politics and how to learn this stakeholder management and conflict resolution when you haven't had a year in entry level positions? This is very hard, and I think it's highly unfair. And if you can't get an entry level job to build those skills, you cannot become qualified for the job that exists, which is mid level or senior levels. And there are a lot of unfilled AI positions globally, and not because people aren't smart enough, but because the system that used to train people doesn't exist anymore. And yeah, this is why right now I'm working a lot on soft skills. I'm also focused on the side which is authenticity and trust, because it's never been easier to build a product or to build a business, because you can build it faster now, you can automate a lot of things, but still you as a person and you as a CEO or founder of your company, you gotta translate trust. And you translate trust through authentic communication. And you cannot automate this and to just let AI run it for you. You have to show up, not your AI avatar, but you have to show up, and you have to have values that you share that can actually help your business become more successful. So that's the human problem that AI creates, and that's the space where human skills actually matter. So if you're watching this and you're in between jobs or you're looking for jobs, building something, figure out what to do after a layoff like me. And if you're also an immigrant, female immigrant just like me, um, here's what the data says matters. So you gotta show up even in this messy time. You got to show up with energy when things are chaotic. You have to see that you can figure things out without being told, and that you can read the room and manage relationships. They are the filter. They are not nice to have, and they matter whether you're in the job or you're in the messy middle like me. Technical stuff can be learned, but emotional intelligence, is something that a lot of people have an unfair advantage of growing up with. But if not, it's now or never. So thank you. I think I'm gonna record similar videos in Russian and German as well. So if you wanna work on your language skills, thanks for watching.